Welcome to Chatting GPT, the podcast where I get to speak to interesting humans who are implementing AI. I'm Mary Rose Lyons, the founder of the AI Institute, and today I've got the pleasure of speaking to Rob, the ultimate startup coder, an AI development engineer, or you might know him as Rob Shocks, because he's known to nearly 40,000 subscribers on YouTube as Rob Shocks. And there he makes educational videos on things like to vibe coding. He does an awful lot on Cursor too. I know we're going to be talking about that. And he also has a great course which is all about helping technically inclined people to learn how to build apps or agents. Rob, you are very welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Great to chat.
I've got so many questions I want to ask you because I think I am your target audience. I'm geeky, I'm a little bit techie, but I'm not a coder. So I'm going to cut straight to the ones that are closest to my heart. First of all, you know what all the no-code, low-code tools like Lovable, for example, can you actually build really high-quality stuff just by using them?
Yeah, and that's the question everybody asks. So I think the first thing you want to do is just differentiate a little bit. So there's what I would call traditional no-code, which is something like N8N or Make or Zapier. It's these ones where you have this graphical interface where you connect things together in nodes and suddenly you make something happen. And they really gained a lot of popularity with tools like Bubble and the ones I just mentioned, maybe over the last 10 years or so. So the problem there was they get you maybe 80% of the way, and then you inevitably need to involve a developer because you need custom code. You need things to be built out specifically the way you want. And they had an amount of success, but didn't take it all the way there. So then we got ChatGPT and we have the ability to write code, and anyone can basically build stuff now by using a natural language prompt. Go and build me an invoice tracker, go and build me a to-do list tracker, whatever you want. And then the AI can go and write that code for you. So it's not necessarily no code or low code. It's something different, and it's what ended up being vibe code. Though a lot of people really don't like that term in the industry. I do and I don't. It's a good catch-all term for this idea of, hey, I just have an idea, I'm going to throw it out, the AI is going to make that for me, and then it's going to give me an error, and I'm just going to say, fix the error. And what happens is this gets you wonderfully far at creating a prototype, which is amazing. So, you have people now, like I have a segment where I show this 8-year-old girl who manages to build a whole game just by vibe coding and prompting it into existence. And I have so many people in my course who have built out fully functioning apps by vibe coding. But you get so far, and then in reality of production applications, there's probably 60 to 70% still needs to be done to make sure it's secure, it's hosted somewhere reliable, you can deal with edge cases, more of the traditional software development. So a long way of answering your question, Mary Rose, of can you build amazing things with the likes of Lovable vibe coding or AI assisted development, as I call it? Yes, you absolutely can, but it's maybe overhyped to think that you can sit down as a novice and create Instagram or Facebook or the equivalent.
Now, it's funny that you mentioned Instagram, because the very first thing that my son made on Lovable when he saw it, right? He's 15. I came out and I went, hey, there's this really cool thing I've got to show you. And he went, let's take a look. And he made an Instagram for sharing aviation pics. And amazing. I was blown away. He was like, oh yeah, it's quite good. 15 minutes. But I suppose my experience of it was we were updating our website there at the end of the summer. And I was saying, authenticity, we've got to be doing this using AI. It has to be, a lovable site. But what I found was that, like, anyone I spoke to who had made sites on Lovable that thought they were great, they were pretty shoddy design wise. They didn't have security, they weren't there. And then anytime I kind of spoke to any proper developers, they weren't really interested in taking a piece of shite that I'd made in Lovable and making it better, and I don't really blame them. So in the end, we went back to our lovely Milo Webflow developer who'd done the first site, and we said, right, we're going to do it in Webflow again and put in a few AI elements to be authentic. Is that everyone's experience, or is that like I was missing the trick a bit?
It's not everyone's experience. It's different scenarios and different placements. Yeah, you have to understand it to figure out where it fits. So in your case, where you're not that interested in, developing it out necessarily yourself, and you just want something done in terms of a website, Webflow, Framer, all those tools are perfect for that. If you're the kind of person who wants to build out a application, You've had this idea sitting in your head for the last 5 years, maybe. These are typically entrepreneurial type people. Maybe they have an idea and they just want to realize it and prototype it. So with the likes of Lovable or Cursor or any of these tools, it allows somebody who doesn't have a code development background, which can take, at least a year or more to get proficient at, to be able to pull together an interface, a workflow, the semblance of that app to go and take it to somebody, whether it's a manager, a customer, somebody in their team, to go, here's my idea. Let's see if it's viable. Would you use this? And then if it is viable, you can take that then, bring it to a developer, and they can actually take it further. Or you could take a course like mine and then learn how to actually deliver a production level app or whatever you want to do. I cover a lot of this stuff for free on YouTube as well.
Yeah, no, your videos are brilliant. You're brilliant.
So yeah, it's like where it fits really well for me is prototyping,
right,
if you're a novice. And then if you are a professional developer, I haven't written a line of code in maybe 6 months now as a developer. I just don't need to. I prompt to move a hell of a lot faster. I can build things in minutes now that took me days, if not weeks. There are caveats, there are quality issues, but
do you miss coding?
what I do, I absolutely do miss coding, because a lot of people who get really deeply into coding have a touch of ADHD or this need for a dopamine feedback loop. And that would definitely qualify for me. When you code, you write this little snippet and it either works or it doesn't work. And when it does work, you get this little feedback loop, which is delicious. And it's why, people love coding and find it hard to go into management. Essentially, what you're doing with AI development is a mix between management and coding. So you need to understand what's going on, what you want to build, and you need to manage the agent to build it for you. So in that sense, I get a dopamine hit from seeing things realized and being built, but I miss that lovely feedback loop of typing on a mechanical keyboard like this. And
an actual keyboard, yes, with more than one finger. I'll see your vibe coding and I'll raise you with my one. I do vibe working all the time.
I think we all do.
Yeah, so it's like, do you work like this, where like you come in and you kind of, I get lots of little things started and I put lots of things out, and then it all kind of comes together at the end of the day in this glorious crescendo of bing, completed that task, bing, completed that task. And it's all like I'm jumping around between ways. I call it vibe working because I'm working in a very different way to the way I worked before.
God, I'm definitely more of a vibe worker, but I put rails upon myself in order to try and keep myself focused. So I'll use a tool like Notion. I've used that religiously for maybe 5 or 6 years now, just to keep me focused and on track. I keep it like a to-do list open on the right. Do I follow it religiously every day? No, I tend to fall back to ChatGPT to tell me what I need to do next, and structure what my next task is.
But we're all having all these amazing tools that we can bring into our daily flow. You're working closely with, like, I'd say, amazing minds and individuals and companies, who are bringing you in to train up other people. What would be your prediction for the impact of all of this on literally just work and output, given that people can create for themselves? Do we need people with coding skills, or how is the landscape changing, I guess?
That's probably the biggest question that's out there. So if you look at if you look at the news, you see the likes of, say, Amazon is laying off 14,000 workers. You have to read between the lines to see that a lot of this is just economically driven, not so much AI driven at the end of the day.
There was also a professor from the US came out early October time, and he had some research that showed that a lot of these AI driven layoffs, they're actually not. They were over exuberant hiring during COVID.
100%. Yeah. So I don't think right now AI is leading to like a lot of job losses or restructuring in that sense. What I do see a lot of is shadow AI. So like working with organizations, I see that once you get chatting to people off record, everybody's using it at different levels. They're not necessarily broadcasting it, purely for the fact that if I'm working from home and I can produce a report in an hour that might have taken me a week beforehand, I'm not necessarily going to make that very clear to management. I'm going to go for a nice walk, have a little long coffee, do something else to fill my time. I'm not going to be shouting it from the rooftops. So there's a lot of a lot of shadow AI happening for sure. And also it comes down to the fact that a lot of companies are very restrictive about what tools you do and you don't use.
Well, we'll
So,
come on to the
so,
tools in a moment. Like you kind of have a
mm,
positive sort of view of shadow AI. When I hear shadow AI, I actually get a little pain in my tummy because I just think, oh my God, what information are people putting out there? Like I was
100%.
speaking to
Yeah.
one of my own family members recently and she was talking about her use of something and I was like, I can't believe you're doing. And she just, even though she's, fairly switched on, she was clueless as to the security risks of what she was putting out there. So I think shadow AI is very scary.
Yeah, yeah, I would think so. A lot of it comes down to just good policies, good education, finding a champion in your team that loves this stuff and put the spotlight on them and have them share and have people share, with
Yes.
each other. And then the attitude changes. Yeah.
Defo. So can we come on to tools? What are your go-to daily tools that you use every day, and why do you love them so much?
Yeah, so I have tested every tool. And when I say every tool, I mean every tool. Part of what I do on the channel, yeah, part of what I do on the channel is, it's my job to kind of be at the very edge of what's possible, review it, and then let everybody know whether it's useful or not. So in reality, there's probably only about 4 or 5 core tools that I use, having tested them all. ChatGPT is my go-to for most things. In terms of coding, I would use the Claude series models quite a bit, but ChatGPT is just well integrated. It's got everything I want, and I have a lot of shortcut keys set up for it as well. Notion, I would strongly use that with Notion AI built in, because I really believe that the future and the way forward is having all of your information as easily accessible as possible to AI. And when you're using something like Notion or Confluence or a very good company wiki setup, your AI can like inspect it, understand it, and help you work more closely with it. So Notion is a go-to. Then on the marketing side, Canva, I just can't fault it. I used to be a heavy user of the Adobe suite as a graphic designer. Don't use it anymore. Don't pay for the subscription. I use
Funny, I'm
Canva
kind of post
for
Canva as
everything.
well. I used to use Canva a lot, but like this morning, I needed to knock out an image for something, and I just went straight into Google's Nano Banana, and I said, "See this image?
Yeah.
Change the text to this, change the image to this," and it was done quicker than I'd even get to the project on Canva.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely has its use cases. I find an issue with control with tools like Nano Banana, but what I do is I use that as a first pass and then bring it into
Canva,
Canva to
yeah,
tidy up or something like that. Yeah.
I love. Mm.
And of course, Cursor then, I mean, I talk a lot about Cursor on my channel. I think it's this step up from Lovable where I think Lovable is the gateway drug for getting into AI coding. But then when you actually want to deliver production applications and build things that matter, I can't fault Cursor. There's a good team behind it. It's powerful. It's enterprise ready, secure. And I
It's kind of like,
personally love it.
but it's kind of like, say, for example, Zapier used to get all the kind of column inches and everyone would talk about Zapier. But actually, I think Make.com is a better tool and N8N. So I suppose it depends if you've got a kind of a lot of loud Silicon Valley press speaking up your tool, it makes it sound like you're the best, but not necessarily so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
it.
What's your vibe on the different kind of, I suppose, do you detect different personalities amongst your children that you're using every day? I mean,
like say the different LLM personality. Absolutely, and it changes so much so that like only about a week ago, ChatGPT started getting very patronizing in a sense that it was like using way too many analogies. It was saying, imagine this metaphor for something else, and I don't need metaphors. I don't need analogies. I went straight into the settings in ChatGPT and I changed my prompt to give it to me straight. And
yeah.
so basically now my AI stops with all you're brilliant, you're great, that was a great idea. It goes straight in with here's the needed information, and I love it. So
I had a,
personalities do change.
I had a similar thing I was using ChatGPT as a business coach, and I had written into it that I wanted, give me alternative views, don't always just accept, what I'm saying. And it went in like the extreme, like it was every single thing I'd say black, and we'll go, an alternative view is white. And I was like, okay, fine, it doesn't hold in this case.
Too far.
Yeah, but it is grey. And it was actually
Yeah, yeah.
really annoying. I had to kind of get in and rewrite it. So chat is your go-to. What about what's your vibe on what are your other personalities, Claude or Notion. Does Notion have a personality, or is it
It's
a doer?
fairly generic, I find
Mm.
Notion. Claude is more serious and more thoughtful. I think sometimes a better writer than you get from Chat. You just find ChatGPT just quick to go to, and it's got the most plugins and
Yeah.
interfaces. So yeah. But of course, you can adopt the personality or adapt it in any way that you want to.
Yeah. So just speaking of using it, like you have grown a fairly hefty YouTube channel. Would you be open to sharing with some of our listeners, our marketers, and I'm sure they'd be really interested to hear from you how you built up a massive YouTube channel, obviously using your wonderful AI tools and skills. I'm just getting out a notebook here. Excuse me.
The secret sauce. I think one of the biggest things is, unfortunately, it's obsession. And I don't mean
Uh-huh.
that's a good and a bad thing. But in order to produce content for a long enough period of time that it matters, and content that's of a certain level of quality, you kind of need to be obsessed with the subject matter, almost like your special interest, if it were. So you need to only think about starting a journey in an area where it's what you think about an awful lot of the time, and you're really willing to, invest your mental space into. That's the one biggest thing I would say to people. It's very hard to build up content factories around things that are not exciting to you. So I was obsessed with AI, and I would be talking about it and writing about it to anyone that would listen. And I was finding that there wasn't enough people in my circle that were as obsessed as I was. So how do I go and find more of those people? And I had done a couple of videos on YouTube around extended reality and things, and those did well. So I said, okay, I'm just going to start talking about AI. So I found this kind of confluence of AI and building, and that's really where I found my sweet spot. And when the channel took off, because people can smell authenticity, they can smell if you're credible, if you know what you're talking about, and if you're into what you're talking about. So it's not any gimmicks really in terms of how you get yourself out there and how you market yourself. It's really just obsession. Then the
And hard
technical
work.
and hard
Solid
work, yes.
hard work. You put a lot of work in, I'm sure.
Yeah, like you just have to commit to a video a week, no matter what happens, and you just need
Hmm.
to iterate. And you study the analytics religiously to see, okay, this one hit, this one didn't. And the biggest thing is the hook and the
Yeah.
packaging. I see people who spend like a week developing out the video and then slap up a thumbnail or a title
Mm.
in the last 5 minutes. It needs to be
Mm.
other way
The other
around.
way
You need to
around.
spend
Yeah.
a week on the why would I care about clicking on this video? What
Yeah.
is my persona, my avatar, and why is this a burning desire or curiosity gap for them?
Yeah.
And then the content comes after that.
That's the school of Mr. Beast. So can I ask you my other last burning question, which I'm dying to ask you? I'm very, very interested to get your thoughts on agents. Agents. Where are they now and where are they going in the next 6 days coming into 2026?
Yeah, so agents, this was the year of the agents 2025. I
Was it
started
though?
covering them.
Was it?
It was, and it wasn't. And I'll
Yeah.
explain why. So I think anything in this cycle seems to be that bit overhyped. But if you actually take a few levels back from the top of the hype cycle, you can actually see that a tremendous amount of value is being delivered
Yeah.
in what we call, agent delivery. So I started covering them maybe 2 or 3 years ago with the likes of Baby AGI when those came out first, and they were very rough, very rudimentary. They would go in cycles of trying to do something and then failing. When I think about what they were then, only like a year ago, to what they are now and what I can achieve with
Yeah.
Cursor, a huge bounds and leaps have been made. So when it comes to large language models, we're seeing this plateau of quality and intelligence. I don't see them jumping in big levels anytime soon unless there's a new breakthrough. But where there is area for advancement is all the stuff that goes around the agents, the tooling to make them actually work a whole lot better. So I think Cursor is a great example of taking an agent and plugging it into an existing workflow. I think we're going to see those kind of agents being plugged into so many more commonplace applications. You can see one being launched in Canva now, and I think they'll really start to show people how an agent can be used. And I think every business is going to want some level of an agent plugged in. Now, you have to understand that they can't do everything and they have their weak points, but there's definitely places where they're going to make big impacts. So for 2026, I think we're just going to see more of the same. I think we're going to see companies take them on board, go more into production with this kind of stuff. It was a Wharton report that came out just a couple of days ago, which shows that enterprise AI spending in agents has gone way up compared to the previous year. So there was a time there where practically people could have decided to shoo away after all these POCs not working out. But we are seeing evidence, and I'm feeling evidence from the companies that I work with that they're finding sweet spots for where agents fit.
Yeah, I think they're only going to continue to grow. And I was looking similarly at I was just trying to find it there, at a Gartner report about the kind of the top thematic areas. And it is all definitely building out agents infrastructure for 20. So for anyone listening who is like maybe a small business owner, switched on marketeer, where should they begin with agents? Like what would be the kind of essential agents that everyone needs to have in their business?
I think I would really look at something like Notion as a gateway to kind of get into this. Get the Notion business plan and start to, on a personal level, just map out your own personal life and start to use that little agent in the bottom right corner to help you build out databases, to help you organize yourself. And then you start to understand what this agent is and what it can do. And then onwards from that, you've got the likes of Copilot built into Microsoft, all those other ones. They're your next kind of step up. And then the most advanced version then really would be the likes of, say, Cursor or something like that. If you actually want to build your own agents or get more into building out apps or applications that you have in your mind that you want to actually, start to use and prototype.
That's really good advice. You do a lot on this in your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, a ton of it is out there in YouTube. A lot of it is free. If you want the fast track and if you want to kind of work with a group of people and get in with a cohort of entrepreneurs and builders who are really obsessed with this, then jump into the course and we can take you a bit further. Yeah. People don't have a problem with learning. They have a problem with accountability and execution. Everything you possibly need is out there. It's about, actually completing it and getting stuck in.
That's true. Well, I'll put those links in the show notes. Rob, this has been really interesting conversation. I wish you all the best into 2026. And if people want to follow up with you directly, where should they go?
Just straight to the YouTube channel. It's just Rob Shocks. Yeah, and you'll find everything you need there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Just before we go, everyone, if you found this to be as illuminating a conversation as I have, and you want to make sure you never miss another one of these again, we're the only podcast dedicated specifically to how real Irish people are actually implementing AI in the workforce. So not the theory, not the fluff, but genuine challenges and practical breakthroughs. So please hit the subscribe button now. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another fabulous guest. But for now, Rob Shocks, thank you very much for coming on Chatting GPT.
Thank you.